Good afternoon, class. Here we are in sunny Corinth. I'm in the vegetable garden and I'm getting ready to plant a few onions here on January 23rd. It's about 50 degrees, it's damp, and it's probably going to rain tomorrow. In other words, it's ideal transplanting weather. There's no sun, there's going to be no transplant shock. And we're going to be transplanting one of the easiest things in the world to transplant, which is onions. I am not even going to water them. I'm going to leave that up to nature. Now, we're doing this the easy way. You have three options for planting onions. You have seeds, which if you were starting seeds, you should have done it back in October. Remember, the Texas 1015 super sweet onion is called that because you plant it on 1015 if you're doing it from seed. You could be doing alternatively, you could have started onions indoors sometime in fall or early winter, grown them under lights or in a greenhouse, and then transplanted them out now, or from now until about Valentine's Day. That's about when we would stop doing it here. And that's a good option. You have more varieties available to you if you do it from seed. You even have some shallot varieties, some of the big French ones that you can grow from seed, just like any onion, which is a lot of fun. Or you can do it from sets. A lot of us do that if we want really quick green onions for cooking. Those are those little mini onion bulbs that you can buy even in the grocery store sometimes. Those I don't like as much because they're great if you want quick green onions. And you can get bulb onions out of them, and they're good. But A, they don't keep as well as other onions. And B, they often bolt. And by bolt, you can look at y'all's notes. Bolt means going to seed before they're ready. And an onion is a biennial. When it goes to seed, it thinks it's its second year of growth. And you don't want that because that flower stalk makes a tough axis right through the middle of the onion, which you can still eat the rest of the onion, but you have to get that flower stalk out of it. It's no good to eat. It's tough, and it also allows an entry point into the onion for bacteria and fungi that will rot it. So you'll have to eat them up before they spoil. So we are going to go with the lazy man's option, lazy man, woman, anyone, which is you buy a bunch of plants like this. They look like green onions. They smell delicious. I've got red sweet and white grain X for all your, classic Mexican cooking needs. And both nice sweet salady onions, both moderate keepers. You just go to the nursery and buy a bunch of those. These cost $3 a piece. And, they've got, like several dozen onions in them. This is a lot of onions. They transplant great. You do not necessarily need them to be huge. They can look like little pieces of grass. They can look like chives, and they will still size up just great. If anything, if I had had the choice when I bought these, I would have attempted to buy smaller ones, because these big fat ones are actually more likely to bolt than the smaller ones. They'll transplant real well, they'll be real healthy. Certainly if I want to eat them as green onions, they'll be ideal. But there is a chance that they will bolt on us. That said, we'll give it the good old college try. So these were grown by Dixondale Farms, which is an operation somewhere down by the Rio Grande. It is a well-known grower. They were grown outside in river muck, which you can still see on them. Sometimes you even find interesting weed seeds on them from South Texas. And they are, it's a nice mild climate, so they start them down there, and then they ship them literally everywhere in the country. And they are highly recommended. Dixondale is regarded by a lot of people around here as the best, from what I hear. From what, a Yankee like me hears. So, they've been sitting in a box for a while at the nursery. You just pull them apart. Don't worry about breaking some roots. If you do snap one off, like this, it's not going to regrow roots. This one is a goner. You probably could eat it, but it's not going to grow. So you want to pull them all apart. And I've got some ground right over here that's all ready to go for them. It's land where I had nuts. What did I have growing there? That was peanuts. So it's nitrogen enriched. Peanuts are an ideal hot weather legume that fixes nitrogen. Good cover crop as well as delicious crop. So, all right, let's prop up my computer on this dead pepper plant. we're just gonna go over here and start with my little Cobra head hoe made in the great state of Wisconsin. Make little holes and drop the onions in. You don't want to go too deep, you know, just enough to stand them up. You know, maybe put the roots no more than an inch under the surface of the soil. You'll notice there's no mulch here yet. I can mulch, that's okay. Onions can have mulch, or I can not mulch. Weed control is easier in some ways if you don't mulch, actually, because you can run a hoe between the plants. It's counterintuitive, right? Because one of the reasons a lot of us, including me, like to mulch is to keep the weeds down. But sometimes it's easier not to. You can also, you know, you have your bed prepped. You should always pull weeds like henbit as you're going. You can also go through later. I could wait a month after the weeds have already come up, give it one good old hoeing, and then mulch the heck out of it. The only disadvantage to that is then I got to get in between the plants, and that can be a pain. You can see I'm putting the onions spaced about 8 inches on center, and I'm making a zigzag double row. That is a design I use for anything chunky and large like this, like onions and garlic, because it means I can squeeze more into the bed. It's real good because if you space them in a square pattern, think about it, you're actually wasting space. So that's why we do it like this. And you can see this goes real quick. Certainly there are machines that can do this, but we're not going to do that in our little class garden. Anyway, here we are. So that's your red onions. Thank you, folks.